If I can't keep my head held high enough, I'll just speak love and watch the smiles come, bring my spirits up. There's some shit I like to fix, but I still know that I'm blessed.
Welcome to my ongoing coverage related to the Kristin Smart Trial. This is a little bit of an offshoot related to the Media Coalition filing a motion to release all the documents that they're keeping so hush-hush and secret for the Floreses for some reason, when usually that's not the case for most. I have some exciting news related to the Media Coalition. I'm going to update this referencing my notes here. So as we know, the Media Coalition was led by the San Luis Obispo Tribune, ABC News, the Associated Press, and the LA Times. So today, Judge O'Keefe ruled that the majority of the records will be unsealed and that the gag order will be modified. And I'll go into more detail here.
Also today, hundreds of pages of previously sealed documents in this case were released, and the judge is considering unsealing even more. They include motions from the defense and prosecution, details about witness interviews, and other items of evidence.
This was the motion filed back in July. All those filing details and dates are in my previous video where I touch on this. So on August 8th of 2022, the ruling for the coalition, like I said, consisting of LA Times, ABC News, Associated Press, and San Luis Obispo Tribune. The News Coalition previously mentioned and cited the First Amendment and the public's right to access. They request that access be remote as well. Of course, most things are done remote nowadays. Paul and Ruben were present at first, but then Ruben, he left the courtroom and he waived his right to be present, but about 20 minutes later, he showed back up. And this is just more of the odd behavior. You can see in my other videos, Ruben has been acting a fool, just doing such weird stuff. I don't know. He is 81 years old after all. Okay, moving on. So since almost all the documents were sealed, even the request for the sealings make it impossible to know what documents even existed. So they don't even have a way to say we want such and such document, because the sealing of the sealing of the sealing hides every layer of it. And I'm still waiting for someone to tell me why this is going on and why the Flores family has been getting this preferential treatment for 26 years now and counting. But it looks like it's going to change with this new news on Thursday that I'm going over with you guys. So moving on. So I do have the dates in here in my notes. The coalition filed the motion originally on July 14th, and the judge moved to unseal most of the documents right then, and she thought everything was good to go, but then Paul's defense attorney filed opposition to her wanting to do that back in July. So they went back and forth, and eventually both sides agreed to unseal the majority of the documents. Since the jury has seen the documents and they're already seated and the trial is going on, they also agreed that some documents should remain sealed in whole or in part. And the attorney for the coalition, whose name is Aaron Field, he argued that neither side had met the burden needed to justify sealing any records. And either side, I mean Paul's attorney and Ruben's attorney, Sanger and Misek. So moving on. In 2002, the Supreme Court ruled the following: overriding interest that overcomes the public's right to access. That's number one. Number two, substantial probability that sealing will promote that interest. Number three, sealing order is narrowly tailored to serve the overriding interest. And number four, the last point, there are no less restrictive alternatives to sealing. So that is how the Supreme Court looks at these type of situations. It really puts the public's interest at the forefront. The attorney for the coalition went on to also say, plus, neither side ever filed the required public docket notice to seal, along with reasons to justify the sealing. Sanger, Paul's defense attorney, argued that providing a list could jeopardize, and I'm going to quote, confidential information, end quote. The judge spoke up and said, quote, I'm not aware of any names on the documents that would pose any problems, end quote. The judge then ordered that both sides must provide a list of the documents they want to remain sealed to the News Coalition by August 19th of 2022. The same list must be provided to the court by August 12th, 2022. And justification for sealing documents on the list must be submitted on August 25th, 2022, for the hearing that will be held on September 2nd, 2022, for a final ruling, hopefully, on the matter. Sorry, that was a lot of dates, guys, but don't worry, I'm keeping track of them all. Some people like to know the dates. In the meantime, the documents that are not objected to will continue to be unsealed. Moving on to the gag order section of the filing for the Media Coalition. So the gag order was put in place April 2021, and it has been modified. And the paperwork that has to happen in order for the modification does reveal some interesting things. Here are some details as far as what Paul's defense attorney, Robert Sanger, wants to have remain sealed, basically. Just he himself has over 200 items that he's appealing the judge's decision to unseal. He wants them to remain sealed. And one of the things we know he wants to remain sealed is the DNA evidence related to Paul's stained mattress cover from his dorm room. And the prosecution, of course, cites the DNA as proof that Kristin was on the mattress. And the defense, of course, disputes it. So we know that's one of the things listed they don't want released. And the prosecution also mentions the evidence from the excavation under Reuben's deck where Kristin was once buried. He says it must be allowed regardless of any of the defense's objection. So a little bit of insight there as what's to come in some of these orders that they're trying to unseal. I'll be sure to let you know of any juicy ones if I hear about them too. Continuing on with more of the details related to the gag order in this case, Monterey County Court Executive Officer Chris Rule has also denied access under the gag order to media and such as they've come in and tried to acquire information. They denied the Tribune access to exhibits that were already shown in court, and other court staff has also denied even answering simple questions such as identifying a topic of a hearing. They're really protecting these guys. The News Coalition attorney argued that, quote, there is no question the gag order is obstructing constitutional access to this case, end quote. He asked the order to be vacated due to its use of blanket sealing in the case, and hopefully, once news agencies have access, we'll get more coverage. Yay! It makes sense why coverage is so sparse, even after it's presented. Exhibits, etc., still aren't being released to the news. So they don't really have much to cover or give us, not the level of which people are used to getting access to courts. I'm not kidding when I ask any of you folks out there in YouTube land who has any insightful information as to why this case has been so bizarre. I actually have that song stuck in my head now. I mean, all the norms for the last 25 years, investigatively, now that we're in court, same thing. They just really are treated differently. And I hope someday it's revealed why. I'm just dying to know. So Sanger and Purville, Sanger's defense, Purville is prosecution, both argued that the gag order should remain. They both argued that even though jurors have been sworn in, to avoid outside information, the social media age makes that hard to do. The prosecution and defense said it would be improper to allow witnesses and attorneys to talk to the media, as it's impossible for our jurors to miss the news of the world. Judge O'Keefe said she will revise the order to clarify and narrowly tailor it so it does not prevent constitutional access, including access to documents and exhibits. Once he heard this, Sanger tried to argue that exhibits already shown shouldn't be accessible because he didn't think anyone saw them as public documents. The media's attorney, Mr. Fields, again argued that if it was already presented in court, there would be no reason to keep it sealed. The prosecution asked the judge to make sure counsel is notified of any exhibit releases. The judge didn't rule on this, but said it will be addressed in the protective order and it will favor the public's right to access. As I stated in this video, the next hearing for the Media Coalition release to unsealed documents, exhibits, etc. will be September 2nd, and Judge O'Keefe said this, quote, "The court needs clear understanding of what is being asked to be sealed and why." Like I said, I marked my calendar. I'll keep you in the loop. And next I have a little disclaimer for those of you that are following the case with me since there isn't much access and you know that I'm covering it. So here's my disclaimer. All right, so this is what's happening. When I make these videos, it's so many little individual clips and voiceovers and moving clips that it jams up my iMovie software. It literally takes days to get it unjammed, and I have to reduce it and cut it and adjust it. And then YouTube, for the last couple days, or actually the whole last week, it's been taking 2 days for downloading and then another day or two to process. So it's been a little bit stressful. I just want you guys to know I'm really, truly trying. I'm doing my best, actually, not trying. I am doing my best. As happens sometimes, I'm at the mercy of technology, so bear with me. It should be worth it when my episodes come out since there's so little coverage of Kristin. And I feel like the unknowns that will soon be revealed may actually surprise and shock me even. Someone who feels like I know quite a bit about the case, like a lot of us who've been following it all these years. I'm really looking forward to these items to be released. And as always, I am anticipating justice for Kristin.
If I can't keep my head held high enough, I'll just be love and watch the smiles come.
Thanks for
Bring
watching.
my spirits up.
Don't forget to stop and smell the flowers.
There's some shit I like to fix, but I still know that I'm blessed.